Hi, everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thank you so much for being with me today. And my topic that we're talking about is unstory yourself. Are you the hero, be the hero, or the victim of your story, right? And so, this is just such an important topic because we do this. This is how we are in the world, especially if we don't know any better. We've sort of been trained by the world to get to our present through our past and to talk a lot about what our story has been. And the story is it in a sense it's made up in our own minds, and so that's what I'm gonna and when I say that, I understand that whatever happened to you, but the story you tell about it did not happen to you. The story you tell about it is your own choice. So, for those of you who don't know me and might be joining for the first time, my name is Kelly Russell. I am not only a coach and teacher of A Course in Miracles and spiritual educator, but I am also a licensed psychotherapist. And I I have the whole reason why I am talking about these topics and why they're so dear to my heart is because they have changed my life. And this one is no different. Learning the power of the story that you're telling on how it can then create, how it not just can, but it does create the life that you're living and the reality that you have and the experiences, the way that you experience your life going forward with the story that you're telling about it is profound to me, and it happens all the time. And so, you know, we can't control everything that happens to us in life. We can't control what other people say, what they do, how they treat us, and especially when we don't have the choice when we're younger and in our early lives and whatever. And when we're older, I mean, we still can't control people when we're older, but we can make different choices about who we surround ourselves with and so forth. But the thing is that we start going through experiences from day one. We pop into the world and we are in this whatever tribe that we're in our families, we're in our family of origin, or we may be in an adoptive family. We are growing up in whatever circumstances we're growing up in with whomever our tribe is, whoever those people are, and we're interacting and we're having to take on various roles, familial roles, societal roles. We're learning all different kinds of things, and whatever is going on is what's going on, and it is what we make of what's going on that becomes our story. And then as we start telling ourselves a story about something, and something it can be something that we don't even remember. It can be something that somebody told us about ourselves or about our circumstances or our environment, or somebody could tell you that you were a fussy baby and a child that was just too busy and ran all over the place and climbed the drapes and set stuff on fire and were kind of a nightmare as a child. And that's going to become part of your story, and you're going to believe that about yourself, and then you're going to kind of create a chaotic life for yourself, believing that that's like the kind of person that you are. It's just one little kind of an example. And this is the kind of work that I love to do with people, is finding out what their stories are. Like when somebody's telling me something, whether they're in a coaching with me, or whatever. Ooh, hi, Corinne. Oh, and I'm sorry. I meant to ask you guys if you could hear me. I guess we're kind of far into this now for me to ask you if you can hear me. But if you can hear me, and also put up on the screen, who you are, where you come from, say hi to me. And I'm so happy that you're here. So I'm sorry I had to take that little detour. I was supposed to do that right off the bat. But I got so excited to talking to you and diving right into the material that I kind of forgot about it. So we start telling these stories, and we have these stories told to us, and they become part of our identity. And if so, that's one piece of it, is that they become part of our identity, and we sort of think like our identity is just our identity, and we don't really have anything to do with it. Thank you, Amy in North Carolina. Hello, I'm so happy that you're here. Um, and so we have these identities that we got going on, which is our identity is basically just the story that we're telling ourselves about who we are. So we have that, but then and so it's going to be really, really important for you to start looking at, if you love your life and you love your relationships and you're having a blast and you're having a great time, and you're in love with everyone and everything, and your life is working out awesomely, and everything is kind of smooth sailing, and you know there isn't a whole lot of challenges or difficulties that you have going on. I say rock on, and I give you a big giant like life high five. And what it sounds like then is that you're pretty aligned with your story, and that the story you're telling about yourself and the story that you have experienced is probably a pretty good story, and you've learned stuff along the way and you're okay with it. It is, I am really speaking to when we feel that, it doesn't mean that we feel this way all the time, but for those of us who sometimes feel like we're not that happy with the way that our lives are, we're not necessarily happy in relationships, or we would like to be in a we'd like to be in a relationship, or maybe we would like to have a partner, or we are not happy in some friendship or job or whatever it is that we're in. The first thing that we really have to look at, and really in any area of our life, we could be looking at this in terms of our finances, in terms of our physical health, our physical condition, what's happening with our body, in terms of what we're doing every day with our lives, and are we excited, and are we juiced up, and are we psyched to like get out of bed in the morning and like do enter the world and do our life? Are we bored? Are we just kind of going through the motions? Like, what is happening? It all comes back to whatever the story is that we're telling ourselves. And so when I think about, when I talk to people about if there's something that they're not happy about and they want to rock their joy, right? That's the name of my business, Rock Your Joy, and that's what I help people do. And so when I ask people, well, like, in what way are you looking to rock your joy? And then I hear people talk, and oftentimes they are talking about someone in their lives. There's some kind of a relationship that they either, as I said, they either have and it's not going well, or that they would like to have. And when I talk to people about their, well, what do you think went on? Why, what's your belief about that? Why did that happen? Or why are you having that conflict or whatever? I start to hear the story. And the story that they're telling themselves is exactly what they're not only living in this moment, but the story they're telling themselves is also what they're creating in the next moment. And that is the way that it works. So when you have whatever story it is that you're telling yourself, well, this happened to me, that happened to me, and my family was like this, and my siblings were like that, and then I went to school, and this happened, and that happened, and then I was a teen, and then this thing went down, and that went down, and then I had this boyfriend or girlfriend, or and then these other things happen, and maybe I was abused, or maybe I was bullied, or maybe I got dumped, or maybe I had anxiety, or maybe I had a learning disability, or maybe, a parent left my family, or like, I mean, whatever. The possibilities are endless, but it all became part of your story. And then there's a vibration, there is an energetic vibration that is attached to our stories, because our stories are about the emotions. They're not just about what happened. Like if I could just if you could just give a blank narrative about the way that your life happened and you had no emotional connection to it, then it wouldn't have any creative ability and it wouldn't be the way in which you're architecting your future, your present and your future. But it's very difficult to maintain a story about yourself, about anything, and have no emotion about it, you know, um, because we're not robots. Robots have not yet taken over the world. And so we're still spirits having a human experience here. And so when we tell the story, we're emotionally connected to the story. And in a lot of cases, we haven't healed whatever events went down. So we are still living, the story's still alive within us. And because it has emotion connected to it, that means it has an energetic vibration connected to it. And the vibration works in low vibration, high vibration, and everything in between. Those frequencies mean that that is what we are broadcasting into the world. That's our vibration, is what we either are attracting to. Well, it is what we are attracting to ourselves, the people, the circumstances, the situations, what seems to happen, the way we feel, our moods, the reaction we get from other people. That is all part of our vibrational frequency, our energetic, where we have located ourselves. And then that is how we end up attracting in whatever we're getting in our future. So, but the story itself has got a vibration to it. The story itself is it's an energy field. And so when you like I for so for myself, I can tell you that a story that I carried for a really long time with regard to so my mother used to tell me she would say to the spirits or whatever when she was pregnant with me and carrying me, send me the child that needs me the most. So I perceived that in my little brain the way that I did, and the way that it solidified in my brain was, I am needy and I need my mother. So my experience was that I was super attached to her. I started school at kindergarten when I was almost 6 instead of almost 5 because I was too attached to my mother to leave her and go to kindergarten. I like would I'd go over to stay overnight at a little friend's house. I remember a couple of times when I had to go home because I missed her too much. Like I was just super overly attached to my mother, and I was needy of her. And but it was not for any reason other than I was basically sort of it was said, send me the baby that needs me the most. And I interpreted that as I'm needy. And that became part of my story. And it wasn't until decades later, actually, after I became a Course in Miracles teacher and I was writing a blog post about it, and I realized that my mother was my first spiritual teacher. She brought me to a Unity church when I was about 8 years old, and I grew up in my spiritual education in a Unity church. It was a beautiful experience. Um, I didn't really grow up with any kind of religious dogma or um, anything like that. It was lovely. She was teaching me how to do manifestation exercises and meditate when I was a child. I mean, there was just all kinds of beautiful. Our bookshelves were filled with like Edgar Casey and you know um, the Seth books and all those kinds of metaphysical, all kinds of metaphysical writings and authors. And so I was reading all that stuff when I was like 10 years old. And so when I really thought about what did I need my mother for, why did I need her the most? I needed her to teach me how to be a spiritual educator because that is what I was destined to be. And she was my first one. And it was never about me being a needy baby and a needy child and needing her because I couldn't I couldn't get along without her or anything like that. So I think it's really interesting that when I changed my story, and I was in my 50s when I changed that story, although my mother left this world when I was 24, I believed all that time that I had needed her so much. And the truth is, I needed her to help me become who I was meant to be and what who and do what I came here to be. And she did that in spades. And so changing that story completely empowered me and completely it was like a 180 turnaround. So that's an example from my life of how what can happen when you change your story. And I don't just mean change whatever story's been happening to you recently. I mean going all the way back to the stuff that went down when you were a kid and how you were taught to make meaning of it or how you just made meaning of it on your own. And because all of that sets you up for the way you're going to story yourself later. You know, whatever went because all those beliefs become these sort of unconscious, um, they do become unconscious beliefs that end up turning into your reality. And so that's where you have to kind of find out what they are and be like, okay, but is that really what the story is that I want to tell myself about that? Do I have to keep believing that? I don't have to frame it like that. You know, I can change that. People are told that they're stupid. They're told that they're not good enough. Or they just interpret the world as telling them that. They're told that they aren't lovable or that they're bad or you know or they or they just think that these things are true because of the way that the people in their lives are acting and behaving, and they may be absolutely misinterpreting and misidentifying what the truth really is just based on what other people's behavior is, which can be totally have nothing to do with them, right? Like other people are just acting how they're acting. They're they're responding to their own baggage, their own internal cues, their own underlying beliefs, their own messages, their own stories. And so your story does not have to be attached to what somebody else's story is. Their story's their story, and they're doing or saying whatever they're doing or saying, and you do not have to take it on and make it part of your story. You're in charge of your story. You're the author of your story. Nobody else is. And they're the author of their own story, whether they know it or not. And nothing that has happened to us in our lives is in any way authoring our story. We are still the ones that end up making meaning of it. And we make meaning of it by looking at what happened. And instead of saying, this terrible thing happened to me and it never should have happened, and the person who did it was terrible, and they were abusive to me, and they were awful to me, and they treated me terribly, and because of that now I have this problem and I have that problem and I have this other problem, and now I can't do this and I can't do that, and I have this issue and I have that issue. Like that is what's called being a victim of your story. All right, but you can be a hero of your story instead, and it's all by the way that you frame it. And so instead of framing it like that, to say, okay, these things happened to me. And the exercise that I always do with people is to say, okay, let's look at what happened and let's look at what did you have to cultivate, or what do you right now have to cultivate within yourself to be able to cope with whatever that was that happened. What qualities did you have to step into? What did you have to reach down inside the very depth of yourself and pull out of yourself in order to be able to get through whatever you got through and come out the other side of it? Did you have to develop courage? Did you have to develop patience? Did you have to develop inner strength? Was it being able to hold your center? Was it the ability to be able to love, to be able to love someone even though they're behaving terribly? Were you able, like, I mean, I could go on and on about what did you have to cultivate within yourself, but to see it as that is something that you needed to cultivate in this life. It doesn't mean that the divine did that to you. It doesn't mean it was God's plan. We don't have to blame God or or any or any divine, however we refer to the divine, we don't have to blame that for the bad things that happen to us. That's one of the ways that the ego mind, the conditioned self, intervenes in this process and tries to interfere with it, is instead of us staying focused on how has this situation served me in becoming who I am, and how has it added beauty to who I am? How has it made me even more valuable? I was already worthy. I am worthy because I am worthy, and that's the reason why I'm worthy, and I don't have to have any other reason for it. But how has this situation made me even more, whatever, even more compassionate, even more gentle, even more open, even more tolerant, even more patient, whatever it is. And being able to see that as as the gifts from the situation and from the circumstance and from the person. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in active relationship with people with whom you've had some kind of interaction or some kind of relationship where you have needed to cultivate those qualities about yourself, but it means that you can detach from them lovingly and without holding any resentment or any anger or anything that is toxic to yourself and your psyche, and anything that is opposing love in your energy field, because all that does is create resistance. it ends up it ends up getting in the way of you actually trying to attract the life that you want to have, the relationships that you want to have, the experiences, the abundance, the health, the centeredness and the peace and the tranquility, the serenity, the sanity that you want to have. Because whenever there is a negative vibration in your energy field, and those negative emotions cause a negative vibration, that sets up that resistance, which gets immediately in the way of you attracting what you want and being able to be the hero of your story. Because the way that you are the hero of the story is that you're in the energy field of love. You're in the energy field of everything that is what we consider to be high vibration. That is how you become the hero of your story, is that you do take those qualities and characteristics that you had to cultivate, and you see them as valuable, and you see them as gifts, and you see them as they may have been hard won, but that you needed them. And I'm not saying you needed to go through terrible experiences. I'm saying you needed to cultivate those qualities within yourself. And if those experiences gave you the opportunity to create cultivate those qualities within yourself, then they did. That was the irritation in the oyster that caused the layers and layers and layers and layers and layers that became the pearl. So we don't have to focus on the irritation. We can focus on the pearl. And that's you consider that your pearl of wisdom from this teaching. So 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 for you to be able to be the hero of your story and be in that high vibration place, you need to be in the place of where you're looking at everything that has gone on in your life, past, meaning past lives, past this life, yesterday, as well as everything that's happening right now and everything that is going to be happening in the future, as nothing and no one is against you. Everything is happening for your good. Everything is working out for you. Everything is a blessing. Everything is a gift. And when you take that attitude and you say it might not seem like a gift in the moment, it may not feel or taste or smell or look like a gift. It might look like a box of poo instead of a gift, but that's okay because that's the story, is that this looks like a box of poo right now, but you don't have to leave it as that. You can actually be like, okay, well, I'm going to write a different story about what this actually is. And I'm going to allow myself to benefit from it. I'm going to allow this to be one more tool that I have, one more asset that I have, one more instrument that I have that can help me to do what I came here to do and be who I came here to be and fulfill my purpose in this life. And all of us have a purpose in this life. And our purpose in this life is not negative. Our purpose is not to be a victim in the world. Our purpose is not to be in a low vibration place in our psyche and in our souls and in our hearts. Our purpose is to be able to be the love that we truly are in the world. We are creations of the divine. We are perfect and whole and innocent as being extensions of the love of the divine. Every single person, whether you can't stand them, whether you're divorced from them, whether you love them to pieces, whether you don't know them, whether they're your president, whether you voted for them or not, whether you think they're a complete knucklehead, whether they cut you off in traffic, whether they done you wrong in some way, everyone is has that as their birthright, that every single person in this world is a divine creation of love and innocence. And we are all created. That's the thing, is that there's only one. There's only one of us. We are all facets of that same shimmering diamond, which means that, it might look like that to us, but that's only because the other person's vision about who they are has been obscured, and our vision has been obscured about who they are. And also, we're allowing our vision about who the other person is to obscure our own vision about who we are. Because when you are looking at another person with anything other than love, you cannot see the love within yourself. You cannot see yourself as the true reflection and extension of the love of the divine that you really are and the light that you really are. So for you to think about what your story is, to hear the story you're telling every day, I can't do that because of this. I can't, I could never be able to do this because this is in my way. And why is this in my way? Because of what that thing that happened, or why I'm not able to move forward in this area, or how I'm held back in this way. Like, I want you to really start listening to the story that you're telling about everything, about every aspect of your life, and really listening to the story and really asking yourself if you're really wanting that to be your story. And am I being the victim in this story here, or am I being the hero? And if I am being the victim here, as much as nobody wants to be a victim and everybody says that they're not, if you're seeing yourself as being held back in any way from what you would like to be or do or have or experience in this world by something that someone else did or didn't do, or some kind of circumstance that happened to you, then you're being in your victim energy, and you can absolutely change it, and doing it by the way that I talked about earlier in this video. So I hope that that's helpful. I hope that it gives you something to think about, and make some, be able to change your experience of the world. I mean, that's the whole point of it. I can't tell you how much going from feeling like I was a needy child and needed my mother, and my mother passed away when I was 24 and I didn't have her anymore and I really needed her, to getting to that place where it's like, no, that is not even what the context of need even meant. I love you too, Corinne. Thank you so much. Um, and that leads me into another topic for this teaching, which is that you may have heard me talk about this already this week. I don't know if you've been on any of my other Facebook Lives or received any of my emails, but I am in the process of launching my first digital online course. And I am so excited about it. It's been like 2 years in the making, and I it's just been I say it's been like my baby. I really feel like it's I mean, I have never had a baby, but I feel like this must be a little bit like what it's like of all this anticipation and can't wait for it to get here and so excited about it, but at the same time scared and can I do this? And I don't think I can do this and I don't know and maybe it was a bad decision and what happens if it doesn't go well and what if nobody likes it, which I mean, just all kinds of right. My story that I had the story around it, and the reason it took me 2 years is because of the stories that I had going about it, and so it means a lot to me to be in the process of launching it this week. And I actually am very, very happy about it. And I'm excited to share it with all of you because this program, so it's called Creating Miraculous Relationships, Rocking Big Ass Love with Others, Yourself, and God. And it is a course that has multiple modules and videos, and it is me teaching about everything that I have learned that has been instrumental in me going from someone who had a lot of conflict in my life, who had I had familial estrangements, I had an estrangement from my best friend, I had conflict with husbands and partners and bosses. And I mean, it wasn't like I was just this person that everybody said, oh, nobody gets along with her. I actually wasn't. And I know that a lot of people who know me think it's amazing when they hear that from me because they don't experience me like that. But I had a lot of conflict. And even if it wasn't playing out necessarily in the relationship actively, it was playing out in the relationship in my mind, and I had a lot of anxiety and kind of a lot of internal monologues that I was having with people and internal arguments and all that kind of thing, and all that's gone, all that's dissolved, all that is not happening. I don't have any conflict with anybody, and all my relationships are amazing, and I'm so grateful for that. And so I wanted to create a program where I taught people everything that I had learned, everything that worked for me, all the tools and practices, the mindset, the understanding of how everything works and what causes us, why we have relationships, why we're even here, how we even got here as part of that program, and why we have difficulty and challenges in relationship and why we feel like we can't get what we want and why things work out that way, why it plays out like that in our lives. And so I it was really important to me to having gone through that and it doesn't mean that I don't ever get in an argument with anybody. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I get, you know, boo-boo kitty about something or and I tell myself the story that my feelings are hurt or I tell myself the story that, that I'm not being made important right now or whatever it is. But I know enough of I have these skills and these tools and these practices and the mindset and you can't unknow what you know. And so I have the ability to be able sooner rather than later, which is great, to get myself out of whatever it was that I was in, to get myself out of that false mindset and get myself back into being able to be like, okay, so what's the story you're telling yourself right now, Cal? And you're kind of sounding a little bit like a victim and a little bit like, poor me and that person is not doing what they should be doing and they should be doing this or that or saying this or that or yada yada yada. And so being able to equip yourself and empower yourself with knowledge and understanding of how things work. And this is all based in the Course in Miracles, because as I said before, I am a teacher, a 23-year veteran of A Course in Miracles. I teach it, I'm a minister of it. I coach from that standpoint. It's a spiritual psychology, essentially. And so I go into a little bit, I'm not trying to convert anybody into being following A Course in Miracles, because as the course itself says, there are thousands of paths to enlightenment, and it is only one of them. But in my mind, it feels like it's the fastest one. And so I teach people about that in my course and how to use what the Course in Miracles is teaching in relationships to be able to create your own miraculous relationships. And so one of the most exciting things about the fact that I'm launching this program this week is that I'm launching it at an introductory price that is 66% off of what the normal price will be when this launch is over. So this price is it's normally $333, and for the launch period, which goes through Valentine's Day, it's $111, and that includes everything that is in the course itself, which I've just sort of talked about a little bit. There are multiple modules and multiple videos, and but there's also a bonus for people who enroll in the course during this launch period. So during this week through Valentine's Day, that you also get 4 weeks of course specific group coaching. So I'm going to be doing 4 coaching calls. They're going to begin on Tuesday night, um, February 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and they're going to go for 4 consecutive Tuesdays, starting on the 20th and going for the next 3 Tuesdays after that. And it will be a Zoom call, and it will be for those of you who enroll in the course. And so you are watching the videos of the course, and you're going through the material, and you bring your questions, and I will be doing live coaching on those calls. And I really excited about that. So there's on the screen there's a URL to go visit, and you've got it in the chat there as well. And so I really invite you to take advantage of this program. Um, I do, if I say so myself, I think it is a great program, but it's it's not because I came up with all this material and I created the program, but the ideas that we use in this program are tried and true. They're spiritually oriented concepts. They are, as I said, tools and practices, but most importantly, it's a mindset of learning what the truth is about who we are and who the other person is, and what happens to us to get us to a place where we are holding another person in judgment or in condemnation or in criticism, but then what happens to ourselves when we do that, and why we are not able to get what we want, to get the love that we want, and get the sanity and serenity and the peace and the harmony that we want when we are harboring certain thoughts and certain emotions and carrying that kind of vibration. So I go into explaining all of that. And this course, as I said, creating miraculous relationships, rocking big ass love with others, yourself, and God. So this video in particular is talking about your story and how your story is contributing to your relationship with other people. But it's not just contributing to that, it's also affecting your relationship with yourself and your relationship with the divine. We have got relationship issues with all three. And the thing is that they're all interconnected with one another. Your relationship with yourself, the relationship with other people, and your relationship with the divine. And so if any of those is out of whack, if any of those is out of alignment, then all of them are going to be out of alignment because they're all interwoven. They're integral with one another. So there's no way that you can be completely happy with yourself and love yourself and have crappy relationships with other people and have a wonderful relationship with the divine. There's no way that you can have wonderful relationships with other people, a terrible relationship with yourself and hate on yourself, and have a close relationship with God. And there's no way you can have a wonderful, close relationship with God and hate on other people and love yourself. So they're all that you got to do it all. They all have to be in alignment. All those planets have to be aligned. And that's what this program teaches you how to do. We talk about all three of those um, aspects of love. Love is love, but the way that we are expressing love in the world is um, the love of the divine, the love toward other people, and the love of ourselves. It's the same love, but we do need to be feeling it and expressing it and not negating it and not being in resistance to it. If we want our lives to if we want our lives to work out, if we want to be the hero of our story, if we don't want to be a victim, and we don't if we don't want to keep what's the definition of insanity again, right? You can trust me on this because I'm a therapist. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It really is the definition of sanity is you don't keep doing the same thing over and over if you don't like the results. And so this program is this course rather is a way of changing. It's a way of learning and seeing what you've been doing over and over again and realizing that if you don't want the same results that you've been getting in one of those aspects of your life or all of those aspects in your life, then there is something different that you can do. And the things that I talk about in this course, as far as what you can do, these are things that are doable. They are tools, they are practices, there are mindsets, there are ways of looking at things, there are ways of transforming, there are um, reframing your story. I mean, all of these things are things that you can do so that you can actually have the life that you want, and that so that you can be happy. Everybody says they want to be happy. This is a way to be happy, is to change your story and be the hero of it instead of the victim. So I kind of can't say enough about it. I mean, I feel like I could go on about this in so many ways. And when I'm out there in the world, and I'm not an eavesdropper per se, but it just seems like people talk about everything, and they talk about everything kind of loud. And it doesn't matter where you are. I could be like in a restaurant, or I could be shopping, or I could be, just sitting in some kind of public place somewhere, and I can overhear people talking about different things. And I just think it's very curious. I love to tune in, not not to, it's not like I'm trying to be all up in their business or anything, but I think it's very interesting to hear what people say, because people are telling their stories all the time. So, your story that you're telling yourself in your head. I mean, I can tell you that one of the stories that I have going about myself is if I'm rushed and I'm running late, or I'm I like I'm not very organized anyway, but if I'm not organized enough, and I'm feeling stressed, and I start to get anxious, and I will be like trash talking myself and saying, like, what the fuck, and how come you're always late, and why are you doing this, and you're so stupid, and then I'm like, oh, hold up a minute, and I'm like, that is not going to be my story. I am not talking to myself like that. I wouldn't talk to my best friend like that. I wouldn't talk to somebody that I adore like that. And you know what? I adore myself. I am a divine creation of the love of God. I can adore myself. It's okay for me to adore myself. And you know what? I can adore myself, and I can also be running late and be rushed and forget my purse in the house and not bring, the boots that I wanted to wear and all of that. It's okay. I'm still worthy. I'm still an extension of the divine. I haven't messed anything up, and neither have you. Nothing, nothing that you are, nothing that you're doing, nothing that's in your behavior, nothing that you believe about yourself is true, except that you are a beloved, 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 worthy, innocent, beautiful, pure light of the love of God. That's really the essentially only thing that's true about you, but it is also true about everybody else. So I'm going to switch tracks here once again and say thank you for listening to me about this course. Thank you for being here to share this time with me. And I just want to open it for any questions that anybody might have, or any clarifications that anybody might need about either this, what I've been teaching here, or any place else. So you're welcome to put a question in the chat if you like, and I'll be happy to answer it for you. Um, so don't be shy. If you have any questions, I want you to ask them, or even a comment about anything that we've been talking about here, or if you have any thing to say about what I said about the program that I just referred to, my new course. And I'm just going to keep teaching. And if you end up having a question, then you can put it up there and I will answer it when I see one. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep talking to you. So, one of the things that is so critical about the story that we are authoring about our lives. Okay, so it is. It's like the book of your life, right? So the book of your life, like chapter 1. And this is often what we do when we meet a new person or we're in a new group of people or somebody introduces themselves to you, or you're striking up a conversation with someone for the first time. um, you have this opportunity to, in a sense, tell a new story. And the thing is, the only way that you're going to get a different result in anything in the world is to tell a new story. But this is kind of a fresh opportunity because this isn't a person that's been in your life for, sometimes people, we've got people that have been in our lives since we were born. So they've told us the story of us for a long time, and then we start telling that same story too. And then uh, they also have a story about us that they've got going, that they think our story is. So we have that when we have people that have just known us for a long time, or they've been in relationship with us for a long time, and especially if there's been conflict in the relationship, then people may have a story going about us. They believe that they know everything about us. They know how we're going to react to something. And we have stories about, going about other people too, that we know what they're going to say. We know how they're going to react. I'm not even going to try because I already know what'll happen. I already know what they're going to say. I already know how this plays out. But the thing is, the reason why people think they know what we're going to say, or the reason why we think we know how things are going to play out, is because we've had the same expectation over time. And they've had the same expectation over time that we will react a certain way. We've had the same expectation of them. And so we literally create this circumstance because we don't change it at its source. And where the source is what is the belief, what is the energetic belief that I am carrying around this person, and what is there around this person that if I am carrying and I'm projecting that, does it make sense that they would then behave the way that they're behaving? Because I'm projecting whatever I'm projecting. So, how do I feel about them? What do I think about them? What's the vibration of the energy that I am carrying and broadcasting toward them? If it's anything other than love and gratitude and appreciation and forgiveness and knowing what the truth of them is and their innocence, then we are we are authoring our own story, and it's at that point a sad story. It's going to be a sad chapter. It's going to be something that we're going to go through that we're not it's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a difficulty. It's going to be a slog. It's going to feel icky. so so knowing that you have the power to alter that within yourself, that you have the power to make your story be different just by the way that you are deciding to look at it. You're deciding that it has a different meaning than you ever gave it before, or somebody else is telling you a story and they're telling you a story about themselves, and you can see they may not know any better, they may not know how to tell a different story. And so I was with somebody just recently, and they were telling me, I mean, it wasn't like a um I don't want to say it wasn't a big deal because I think it was a big deal to them, but they were recounting something about themselves. There was something about an experience they were having where they were trying to buy a vehicle and running into all kinds of problems and all kinds of not being called back and getting all their documents in and submitting everything they were supposed to submit and being asked for it 17 times and nobody's answering the phone and I can't get it to move forward and they're just being complete jerks and a-holes about it and just kind of on and I said, you know, like is there any like are you sure that this is the are you sure this is the right vehicle? I mean, it kind of sounds like it's all not going the way that you would like it to go. And the more that the person talked, it was like the more they were kind of escalating about what jerks these people were and how unreliable and etc. Excuse me. And what thought, but didn't say because they weren't really asking for my opinion, excuse me, was they were participating in their own story about this. I'm so sorry, excuse me. Had a hairball going on. They were participating in their own story about what was happening here, seeing themselves as a victim of it, getting their emotions involved, and then reacting to them. And that was the reality that they were creating. And so I'm so sorry about this. I should probably be muting myself right now when I'm doing that. I don't know what's happening here, but at any rate, it's just another example of what can happen when you get your emotions, negative emotions in particular, really involved in your story and that becomes your energy field. And then that becomes your point of attraction. That becomes what you end up calling in and that becomes what your life is and what you're living then and what your reality is. And the only way to change that is to change the story that you're telling yourself about it and tell a different story. So I'm so sorry. I'm actually going to have to sign off because I don't know what's going on here, but it's this isn't something that it's a story that I'm telling myself about it that I'm having trouble not stopping coughing, but I'm gonna just cut this short and say thank you very much for being with me. And once again, I hope you do consider enrolling in my course, Creating Miraculous Relationships, Rocking Big Ass Love with Others, Yourself, and God. I hope that you will consider what I said today about being the hero and not the victim, about unstoring yourself and being able to actually, I think I might have just healed whatever it was. So maybe I don't actually have to sign off. False alarm. Um, to be able to really put this into practice. And I would love nothing more than for you to be enrolled in this course with me. I have not yet done live coaching calls yet. I've been a coach for a number of years, and I've done workshops and in live internet TV and field questions through that, but have never done actual live coaching calls, and specifically not around a course, specific course related questions of mine, because this is my first course that I'm launching. So this is going to be a new experience for me, and I'm super excited about it. And I'm so very glad that those of you who are joining me are going to be joining me. I think it's going to be a great adventure, and like I said, I just know that um, I know that if you take this course, you will not be sorry. I think that you will be able to come away from it with tools and with abilities and instruments and a mindset and a way of being able to approach whatever circumstance is in your life, whatever happened to you in the past, whatever story that you're carrying, whatever conflicts or challenges you have in relationships in your life, you will be able to navigate them so much differently, and you really will be able to create miraculous relationships. So if you are with me watching the replay today instead of having been here live, you can still post your questions here because I will be notified that there's a question and I will be answering you from whatever the platform was that you're watching the replay on. And so you're not missing anything if you weren't able to be here live because I will still be happy to answer your questions. And so, um, so yeah, I can't even, I'm a little in this disbelieving place this week. I don't know if you've ever been there where you've been so excited about something and you've been waiting for it to happen and looking forward to it. And it's been a lot of work and a lot of not work in a bad way. Like preparing for this course has not been work in a negative way at all, but there's been a lot to do. And so thank you, Corinne. It's been great to see you here. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very excited as well. And thank you. It's great to see you. That to be able to then have something come into fruition. And I will say, I think, I know I alluded to this before, but I think that the reason why this course did not come immediately into being born into the world when I first uh, decided that I was going to make this a course, and why it took a couple of years is because there was a lot of story around it. I know I said a little bit about that before, but I think it's so important to see that I really had to look at the story that I was telling myself about it. I had to look at what I thought where my where I thought my place was in the world, and be able to own being a teacher of A Course in Miracles, to be able to own being somebody that had a digital course and that charged money for it and took myself seriously in that way and felt like it was had enough value to it so that people would be receiving something that was going to be good for them and was going to be helpful to them, and was going to allow them to give them tools and give them knowledge and information, and allow them to learn some things that would be really really helpful to them, and that it was not only okay for me to do that, but that actually I could trust myself that these things that I have to impart really are important and valuable. And how do I know that? I know that because I was my own I'm my own best poster child for that. And I also know because people have talked to me about the teachings that they've received or the coaching that I've done with them or whatever it's been, and um and validated or affirmed that though these key ingredients that I teach people in this program, that when I've taught them to other people, that they have actually worked and that they've been effective. And so I know that not just from myself, but from the other people that have come back to me and taken the time to let me know that. So thank you again for being with me today. So sorry about the coughing fit there for a little bit, but thanks for hanging in there. And I look forward to seeing you at my next live, which is going to be on Valentine's Day, which is the day that this launch period will conclude. And so it's the last day to get the program for the discount, to get the course for the discount, to so that you're paying 111 for it, and to get the 4 weeks of the group coaching. So I'll see you again at that live, which is going to be at 6 p.m. on February 14th, Valentine's Day. See you then. I love you.